Senator Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to both the witnesses. And this would be to both of you. Now that the SEC and the CFTC have asserted jurisdiction and warned the public of the risks posed by virtual currency operators, what other ways can your agencies prevent retail investors from falling victim to fraud and manipulation?
Yeah, I'm happy to take this question, Senator. Earlier, Senator Ranking Member Brown mentioned what are we doing with the CFPB. We've actually formed a partnership with the CFPB to consumer education in the area of Bitcoin. One of the things I've learned recently is that America's libraries are a place where a lot of people go and research Bitcoin. In fact, they use the library computers. One of the most frequently searched items from a library computer is a Bitcoin. And so we're teaming up with CFPB to go out to America's libraries to educate librarians who often get some of the questions asked, to be able to direct library patrons to use our resources, our Bitcoin website and our other resources. So we are really getting very creative in the area of consumer education. I've mentioned we've got several podcasts on this subject, which are with thousands of downloads. We are working as hard as we've ever worked. We've never done as much work on consumer education as we've done with virtual currency.
We also have an Office of Investor Education that has been engaged with a number of groups on this, and I think they've done a terrific job getting the word out. In terms of getting the word out, though, there are financial intermediaries and other actors that we're counting on to act responsibly in this area.
Okay.
Deal with their
well, let me ask you a follow-up, and it goes to the point you just made about the libraries and others. Are you concerned that retail investors will remain vulnerable to fraudulent and manipulative online solicitations that are sometimes more difficult for you guys to pick up?
Senator, in the broad range of marketplaces, seniors seem to be the prey of choice for fraudsters and manipulators. Whether it's in precious metals, whether it's in foreign exchange, whether it's in a whole range of products, we see and we prosecute continuously fraudsters who seek to prey on either the less sophisticated seniors who maybe don't quite have the retirement nest egg that they believe they need and fall prey to get-rich-quick schemes or schemes that say we'll guarantee 100% returns and all kinds of nonsense like that. And it's a big part of our enforcement effort at the agency.
Let me ask you this. And this goes to perspective and to hopes and dreams. But what warnings would you give? There was an article in the Washington Post yesterday, and it was about good, hardworking Americans, people who have worked really hard and want to have a pension. It was about a group of our friends and neighbors from Kentucky. And the title of the article was, "Bitcoin is My Potential Pension." What would you say to them to help protect them from winding up in a situation a few years from now where it didn't quite work out the way they were hoping?
It's such a troubling development, Senator, unquestionably, which is why we're putting out so much materials. But what I would say to them is it's the same advice I'd give my children. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. If they're promising ridiculous returns, they're ridiculous. If you are going to give them money, you'd better be prepared to lose it. Yeah.
I agree with everything that Chairman Giancarlo said. I also would say this to them, which is there are things like disruptive technologies that come along, but they shouldn't disrupt the way you look at markets for us or the way you look at investing. Pumping all of your money into a disruptive technology has a very high likelihood of not working out for you as an individual. When we see disruptive technologies come along, there will be winners, but there will be many losers. Okay. That's the way it works.
Let me ask you one other question. How can both of you best assist law enforcement and federal authorities to ensure these virtual currencies are not used by terrorist groups or nations like North Korea to evade sanctions?
So we work very closely with law enforcement. We recently commenced a program with the FBI where we actually have FBI agents on secondment with our agency in order to look at this. At the end of the day, the use of these cash markets for that, it's going to require cooperation amongst multiple agencies, especially with FinCEN, who often, because of their anti-money laundering operation, may see some of these issues before we can, and then bring our expertise to bear and coordinate with our law enforcement agencies.
Same here. I would supplement that with, we also have a dark web working group that tries to monitor what's going on in that space in order to identify these types of issues.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kennedy.